In the next edition of It's About Money, my guest will be Patricia Uttaro. She's the director of the Rochester Public Library and the Monroe County Library System. The library has changed from what I knew from 30, 40, 50 years ago, and I'm excited to have Patty on our show. Stay tuned for the next edition of It's About Money. Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon and thank you for joining us. My guest today is Patricia Uttaro. She's the director of the Rochester Public Library and the Monroe County Library System. Patty, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about how the public library system has evolved over the years, certainly different than what it was when I was a little girl.
Yeah, it's different than what it was when I first began working in libraries in the 80s. Libraries are not just about books anymore, although reading continues to be the number one reason why people visit libraries. But libraries have evolved to respond to many more community needs. We're asked to provide meeting space for people and groups. We've been asked to provide many things beyond books, like DVDs, long time ago video cassettes, recorded books. And one thing we discovered during the pandemic was the people in our area have a tremendous appetite for electronic books and digital media. So all of our libraries have started to invest quite a bit into a product that we provide called Libby, which is very much like Audible. I'm sure you've seen the Audible commercials on TV, and I always see those and I say, why are you paying? Why are you paying for Audible when our library system has such a great product available for free? All you need is a library card to access thousands and thousands of ebooks and e-audio books. Libraries are still gathering places. They were gathering places when I was a child, and they continue to be that. People come to us with their children for story times. You can still find pajama story times in many of our libraries. One thing we don't have anymore, but we're hoping to bring back in the near future, is the bookmobile. Not necessarily in the way that we experienced it many years ago, which was sort of an RV style vehicle, but in a smaller version, particularly focused on city neighborhoods. We've been developing a new program around a vehicle for a couple of years, and now we're looking for the money to make that happen.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool, because access to the young children are...
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. How cool is that? I mean, if I wanted to read a newspaper, I can go to the library system and just use that instead of paying for a subscription?
Yes, absolutely. Newspapers, databases, magazines, all of that's available through the library. And a really interesting fact that a lot of people aren't aware of, if you are an e-content consumer, if you read ebooks and you listen to e-audio books on your phone or through your car, and you're a resident of New York State, you can also get library cards for the New York Public Library, the Brooklyn Public Library, and the Queens Public Library, and have access to their collections as well, to their online collections, which opens up a whole new avenue of things to explore.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. Is the use of it subject to the same way that books were? I remember an episode from Seinfeld where somebody had the book for decades and they were afraid to go to the librarian. Is there a timeline where someone can have access to the ebook or e-article or e-news publication?
Yes, the ebooks do circulate for a set period of time, just like a regular physical book. But the difference is there's no overdue fine, because there's no physical item involved. There's no chance of being overdue. It's automatically removed from your device on the day that it's due. It's interesting that you bring up the Seinfeld episode. I read an article in the New York Times this morning about the New York Public Library, which recently eliminated overdue fines for all of their materials and in New York City. And what's happened is that they've had tens of thousands of materials returned that had been overdue for decades. So, and they're things that people had been living with for years and carrying from place to place and afraid to return them because of the overdue fine. But now that there's no fines, I think the number that I remember from the article is 24,000 items were returned within the first week of this happening or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
Wonder if it's a drop box, so you don't show your face, the camera.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's really cool. Actually, I read with another library system, I can't remember what state, that they were loaning out tools so people could borrow like a sewing machine or a power tool or something like that. I thought, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so in Rochester and Monroe County, many of our libraries are loaning things, just like you talked about. The Central Library downtown, you can borrow a blood pressure monitor or science kits or anatomical models or science posters, which are great if you're a teacher. You can borrow sewing machines. The Arts Division at the Central Library has a number of sewing machines that are available. You can borrow a ukulele and learn how to play the ukulele. The Charlotte branch loans dulcimers, beautiful dulcimers. The Chili Library and the Sully branch in the city loan fishing poles, which I think is a lot of fun for kids. Let's see, what else? The Henrietta Library has really gotten into loaning unusual things. They have so many things that, I guess the philosophy there is they want people to be able to try things before they buy them. So you can borrow an Instapot from Henrietta, or an air fryer, or a cake decorating kit, or a pasta maker, or a snowshoe set. I guess those were pretty popular during the winter. People picking up snowshoes and going hiking around the library and in Tinker Nature Park. The Monroe branch loans books in Braille, which is a sort of a niche collection, but used quite heavily. They also loan gardening tools and record players. Monroe and Webster are two locations in the county that have seed libraries. So if you're a gardener and you're looking for some new kind of plant or seeds for something, try Webster and Monroe and see what you can find.
Oh, wow. But they don't have to give back the seeds, right? Unless
they do ask that people bring seeds back to replenish at the end of the growing season. I don't know how successful that is, but they do keep replenishing the supplies.
I see. So the items that are on loan are also donated by others, or some are purchased by the library?
Both. Both things happen there. Most of our libraries in Monroe County are very fortunate to have private Friends of Library groups, which run book sales and fundraisers and raise money to help the library buy things that don't normally fall into their budget. Most libraries use their budgeted public money for books and DVDs and newspapers and magazines for things like that we're talking about, the air fryers and such. In very many instances, the Friends provide the funds for those.
Patty, I had read about the library value calculator. Tell us about that.
Sure. One of the staff members at the Central Library, Jennifer Burns, who heads our Business Insight Center, recently worked with a group of librarians from across the country and the Urban Libraries Council to develop a value calculator that allows us to quantify the value of the services provided through Jennifer's division to our small business community. She and her staff regularly provide extensive market research for new businesses. They help new business people write business plans. We subscribe to fairly expensive databases that produce reports that would otherwise cost businesses in the thousands of dollars. So this business calculator allows us to enter the number of times, for example, that Jennifer and her staff meet one-on-one in consultations with people in the business community and get a value of that. It allows us to enter the number of times that they produce reports for small businesses or entrepreneurs who are looking for market research and get a value on that. The team that she worked on spent a lot of time researching and identifying value associated with certain activities in the library. So, for example, business reports that she produced in the month of February carry a value of over $50,000 to the small business community, meaning that if the people that she ran those reports for actually had to pay for those through a research service, it would cost them quite a bit of money. So, this calculator allows us to really identify a value in the services that we're providing, which is something we haven't been able to do in the past, and has kind of led to some in the business community thinking that the services we provide aren't terribly valuable, but we're able to show that they are.
That's great. So if someone wanted to access the library value calculator, just go online at the Rochester Public Library, and that will be an opportunity to choose that. Is that how it goes, Patty?
No, actually, the value calculator is an internal tool that we're able to use to present cases for increased funding, for example, or increased staffing. It's not necessarily a tool for our patrons to use. We also use a similar value calculator with our circulation department. So if you've borrowed something in person from the Central Library in the last couple of years, and you get a printed receipt of all of the due dates, you'll see at the bottom the value of the materials that you borrowed that day. And that's the value or what you would have spent if you had gone to Barnes and Noble and purchased those books. And that's what you saved.
That's great. That's great. And so it also helps make sure that we don't have as much waste, right?
Absolutely. Libraries are the great recycler, right?
Yeah. So you're socially conscious. I love it. And you talked about, trying out the things to borrow before buying them, including a crackpot. So I never knew that.
Yes.
What kind of growth do you hope to see for the future of the public library system?
Well, we took a hit like everybody else during the pandemic. We did provide curbside service and a lot of digital borrowing during 2020 and 2021, but we are starting to see people come back to the libraries in person now, and our circulation is climbing again. And I really hope that we'll continue to see our circulation numbers, our door count numbers, all of those things that show how much people are using our libraries continue to climb back up to where we were in 2019 and go beyond that. We picked up a lot of new customers during the pandemic. People who were not aware of what we offered, all of a sudden were coming to pick up take and make kits or STEM kits to work on with their kids. They were borrowing our videos or our streaming service and our MiFi devices. We provided over 500 MiFi devices during the pandemic for people who don't have internet at home. And that was very, very well received.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Patricia. I'm a financial advisor, and you gave me some excellent ideas for clients that I'm trying to help them save money on some of those services. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks again, Patty Uttaro. She's our guest, who is the director of the Rochester Public Library and Monroe County Library System. All the best to you, and I hope to use the library more often. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Goodbye. Well.